Today is May 22nd, 2020, Friday of the 6th week of Easter, and you are tuned into Deacons, Discussions, Drinks.
Did you ever stop and think, why spend too much time just getting ready? Let me be honest, I don't know one single thing that I haven't done to make you notice me. Let me be real here. When I see you, my heart starts racing, but I don't know if I like.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Cardone Recording Studio and what we hope is a great show today. This is pre-recorded, just for your information. I am Deacon Tim Stout.
I am Deacon Dallas Kelly.
I'm Father Lin.
Well, you were real low there. Father Lin Wynn is with us. And yes, we made a slight name change there. Deacons, Discussions, Drinks. More like what the show has evolved into over the last few weeks. It doesn't mean that we're not going to talk about doctrine, but it allows us to cover lots of topics, guests, scenarios, and things that we hope are of interest to you.
And it is a comma, right, in between discussions and drinks.
Yeah, the logo won't show that,
Yeah.
but yeah.
You know, we're not discussing drinks.
Yeah, we're definitely not discussing drinks. I mean, we
and
could.
maybe, that could come up sometime.
Well, we can discuss drink if you need to.
Wow, he is really low.
Yeah, he's still low.
So we're going to fix that real quick. Now try it.
Check.
Now
there
we
you
got
go.
you.
Now
There
we're
you go.
talking. Yes.
So now Father Lynn is with us.
Yep.
Check.
Check.
All right.
Always check.
All right, so new name. As I said before, the purpose of the show is to be engaged with you, our parishioners and fellow people who live in our community, and maybe some other people in the world we don't even know, and hopefully we can maybe even catechize when possible. Maybe you'll learn a little about us, and we'll learn a little about you, and we think that's what this show's all about. So will we ever talk about doctrine, guys?
Of course we will, especially if you email or text us a question.
Doctrine.
Doctrine is always. We have doctor.
We do have
Same thing.
We do.
Doctor. We have doctrinizing
Yeah,
doctor.
We do have a doctor in the house tonight. So, doctrine, I think we live it every day, right? And one of the things I think that we maybe can do as we talk about this show is to get to a point where maybe at the end of the show we can say what the key doctrine point that we discussed through the course of the show. So, as I've said before, we're a ministry of St. Francis and John Catholic Parish, and your support is needed now more than ever. Deacons Discussing Doctrine is based at St. Francis and John Catholic Parish, a part of the Catholic Diocese of Lexington. St. Francis and John boast over 650 families and is a growing and thriving part of the Georgetown community. Whether you are already a parishioner, a newcomer, a friend of a friend, or someone just exploring churches in our area, we hope you will find this show enjoying and informative. It is our desire that Deacons Discussing Doctrine reflects our spirit of community and our love of Christ and neighbor. As is the case with most churches, we survive through the goodwill of our parishioners and friends through donations. If you enjoyed tonight's show, please consider giving online at ssfj.org. That's ssfj.org. That link will take you directly to our online giving portal for a one-time donation, as well as weekly or regular tithing. And as always, we thank you for your generosity. All right, we're going to skip things. We're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to skip over current events because you guys never have a current event. I'll always have to start it. So we'll do it at the end. That'll give you all a full, a full show time to think of a current event. We're going to start something today, really kind of the first thing. And Father, you kind of mentioned it the other day, and I guess we've kind of taken it and run with it. We're going to have ordinary people with extraordinary lives.
Exactly.
So today's that first shot at it, and our guest tonight is Dr. Todd Reinhart, and Deacon Dallas is going to do the introduction.
We'd like to welcome Dr. Todd Reinhart, Dr. Todd Reinhart, who is a parishioner, husband, father, doctor, and a Catholic. Dr. Reinhart was born and raised in Louisville to John and Barbara Reinhart and is the middle child of 5. He went to grade school and middle school at Mother of Good Counsel in Louisville. He attended high school at Trinity High School, and we allowed him in anyway. We allowed Deacon Tim in, so we have to allow him in. Okay.
Class, what year did he graduate?
What year?
92.
92.
Well, he's a young guy.
Tim, when did you graduate Trinity?
86. So, man.
He attended college at the University of Notre Dame. He went to medical school at Northwestern University in Chicago from 1996 to 2000. Family practice and residency at North Colorado Family Medicine in Greeley, Colorado. Is that how you say that?
It is.
Greeley?
Absolutely.
From 2000 to 2003, he trained in rural family medicine, OB, including C-section, scopes, colonoscopy, and EGDs. He worked in Liberty, Kentucky from 2003 to 2008. Wow. And Georgetown was lucky to get him in 2008. He married Colleen, his beautiful wife, in 1998 in Houston, Texas. He has 5 children, all attending at St. John School. And the most important stat that I'm giving, he is the second most popular general practitioner worldwide, right behind Doc Martin on PBS. I don't know if any of y'all are Doc Martin's fan. I think I've watched every episode.
I've seen it once.
I have no idea who that is.
Okay.
It's on that BBC channel or something, isn't it? Yeah.
PBS.
PBS.
Yes,
it's.
And welcome, Dr. Reinhart.
Thank you. It's good to be here, guys.
We're glad to have you. You know, ordinary people. That didn't sound very ordinary to me.
Oh, very ordinary. Trust me. Very ordinary.
Trinity High School.
That may be the most extraordinary thing, especially in Scott County. We aren't very well liked.
We aren't liked. We definitely are not liked, but there's a lot of us here. Tom Johnson.
I agree. Yep.
He's the grandfather of the Trinity High School alumni in the parish.
I think he's a few years ahead of us, Tim.
Yeah, very much so.
You know what you said? Not liked here. A memory I have from many years back was when I first moved to Georgetown. I went to a scrimmage game between Trinity and Scott County High School on the practice field right there by the main 25.
Yeah.
And as Trinity came out, they played Only the Good Die Young, which is an extremely anti-Catholic song, if anybody knows that song. Billy Joe. Remember thinking at the time, that is no coincidence.
I was there. I didn't hear that part of it, but that was the year Brian Brom was playing for him.
Yes, I remember that.
And what I remember really explicitly about that is it took the Trinity team about 15 minutes to get out of the locker room. There were so many of them.
135 players, it seemed
It's
like.
always a huge team. Oh, yeah.
So you're from Louisville.
Yep.
Went to Trinity. Where'd you grow up at? In
The Linden, St. Matthews area. Raymore, Devondale.
Wow. That's where my mom and dad went to St. Margaret Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have probably been our parish had Mother of Good Counsel not been just down Westport Road there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now defunct Mother of Good Counsel. It evidently merged with a couple of others, and I'm not sure which one it is over there now. But
So you went from a very Catholic city, Louisville, and ended up here, which is not a very Catholic place. And before that, you were in Liberty.
I know, which is the Bible Belt. There's no doubt of.
That's where I know
Kentucky.
him.
Yeah, I followed Father up here.
Actually, I was there. I came back to Arnheim to preach there, and the famous of the Reinhart family still posted in the sacristy.
Good old Father Tobias was there at the time.
Exactly.
Where's he at now?
Tobias right now is in Florida.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And he felt that Florida is warmer than here.
It would be. Yes.
Very.
Good call.
So what is in Liberty? What's the parish in Liberty?
Oh boy, they had a parish, and I went to Saint Sylvester in Ottenheim. They do have a parish. I think it's
St. William
That's in
Lancaster.
Lancaster, but in Liberty they have. I think it's Sacred Heart.
Sacred
Parish,
Heart.
I want to say
it got hit by the tornado.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Okay, that must have been after I was down there. Okay, yeah, not a big parish down there, but
No, there's not a lot of big Catholic stuff anywhere outside of Lexington.
There's
right?
not. And that was a big reason coming up here, actually, was Colleen and I were very interested in getting the kids into Catholic schools and stuff like that. So that was actually a pretty big reason.
Yeah, because raising your kids down there, nothing against the Tanton or anything, but if you want a Catholic education,
it's almost impossible down there. Yeah. I mean, and then looking not only for grade school and elementary, but if you wanted to have a chance, high school, Catholic, Lexington Catholic is a trip.
Is it
up north? Yeah. So.
Yeah, big difference. Then where's Colleen from?
She's a Houstonite. She's from Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Y'all met at Notre Dame.
We met at Notre Dame freshman year. Yeah. Now she's from. That's where we got married down there, and it's just
in Houston.
It's just oppressively hot in the middle of June. That's my biggest. That's my biggest memory of the wedding was standing outside beforehand in the tuxedo and just pouring down sweat. I mean, that was memory of the day. So
I spent some time in Houston too. Worked down there, and it is miserably hot.
It is.
We almost moved down there. We actually went and house hunting, made the decision to move, and then something happened, and the company said, "Nah, we're gonna not move," and it was a good thing.
Good choice, Tim. Good choice.
You have family in Houston too, right?
Yeah, Houston is just it's not hot. It kind of sauna. It's kind of humid, oppressive
in the summer,
muggy and sticky, and the traffic is the best of all.
That's what I hear. I didn't experience too much of the traffic, but I hear that.
And Colleen's a cradle Catholic as well.
She is. Yep.
So you got 5 children and 2 off to college.
2 off to college. Well, they were off to college until the coronavirus came along.
But you got 2 off to college, and you still got 3 in St. John's. So you might want to take up surgery or something before.
And my youngest is a third grader, Dallas. So I have a little bit of time. Patients always ask.
You got some expensive bills coming in there.
Patients always ask if I'm going to retire and leave them anytime soon, and I point out that I have a third grader, and it gets the point across that it's not coming anytime soon.
Must be the gray hair.
A lot of it, yes, no doubt.
Wow, third grader.
It keeps me young.
Yeah. So third grade, and your oldest is
a junior.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, in college.
So that's a pretty good diversity.
The Mark we always say was a great surprise, and I think so.
And a blessing.
Absolutely. It's funny. I always kind of say you can't. You go back and think of life and scenes in your life, and you can place your kids, and Mark's the same way, our youngest. You can almost place them. They're such a part of your life. You can almost place them in scenes and aspects of your life in which they weren't even born, weren't even a thought yet in our life. It's kind of funny. Yeah, but
God providential, always surprised you.
No doubt. You know the old saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And that's what it is. So,
so you're in family practice.
I am, yes.
If you had to describe family practice in your own words without using the word family practice,
sure,
how would you describe it?
I'd say taking care of somebody from birth until death. I think that would kind of sum it up. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do quite as much as I used to do down in Liberty, in which I actually delivered babies, C-sections, colonoscopies, EGDs, and those type of things, where it was needed.
That's a pretty diversity of procedures.
Thing. Oh, yeah. And that's why I went out to Greeley out in Colorado for my residency, because it's one of the few programs still left in the country that would train you and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big reason going out there.
Yeah. Just whenever I hear the word colonoscopy.
Have you gotten yours, Tim?
I have.
Okay.
And I'm probably due for another one, to be honest.
I've gotten mine on schedule.
Father Lynn.
50, 55.
Father Lynn, you're 50, are you not?
Oh, it's 52. I'm still in good shape.
No, Father Lynn.
Oh,
He's
I didn't
changing
know.
the subject here.
I didn't realize that. We'll have to get on him, deacons. That's what deacons are for, to get on their path.
I think I'm overdue, I think my doctor told me I needed to get I get the top and the bottom done at the same time.
You're going to get them done at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a little problem with my esophagus. I have esophageal spasm.
Does he stretch it occasionally?
Yeah. And it's due to be stretched. So,
my brother has that.
But there's nothing. It's just the stuff you have to drink is just horrible.
You can take father the same day that you go. So one person would just have to take you both home. That would work.
If they would make the prep not so bad, more people would do it. I mean, because I've got a couple more years before I do my third one, and it's just horrific. I mean,
isn't it amazing with all of our technology that we can't do something better and more palatable? Yes, it's
that's definitely a problem.
The prep we're talking about. What a subject. I hope this is going over good.
This sounds like our kitchen table at night. We get on some good topics like this.
So you mentioned that your kids are home now that the coronavirus has happened.
Yeah.
So outside of your personal life, on the obviously on the medical side in your professional life, everything's turned upside down too, right?
It is. There's no doubt. It's been a interesting past 2.5 months or so in regards to what we're doing. Scott County hasn't been hit all that hard with the coronavirus, which is a good thing, which is a solid thing. I think a lot of that has to do with Toyota and the steps that they did early on to kind of get people out of the factory early on and stuff like that. But I mean, it's changed as far as how we're seeing folks. You know, for a time we were seeing folks a lot by televideo, by Zoom or the Microsoft Teams, especially the elderly. And we're still encouraging folks over the age of 65 kind of more to do that. But we're opening up a little bit more, seeing folks more face-to-face now. And
is telemedicine effective?
Yeah. For a few things, I'd say yes. For a lot of things, because obviously you can't lay your hands on somebody. You can't examine somebody. So there's a lot of aspects of it in which it's not.
So for strep throat,
yeah, trying to have somebody hold up the camera of their light and open up their mouth
just doesn't work, does it?
You don't get near the no, it doesn't work nearly as well. So a lot of it's more history and symptomatology that they tell you and trying to give your best educated guess, I guess, on those type of things. And so, filling medicines and for more kind of chronic, long-term type
routine stuff. So
that's a little easier, but even then you can't get blood pressures and stuff like that routinely, even though a lot of people do have cuffs at home now and stuff like that. But
I got one of those.
Yeah.
Are they very accurate? I mean, it seems like my blood pressure is always high at home, but when I go to the doctor, it's fine.
Most of them are, if they're up here and not down here, most of them are fine. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, my favorite experience with that blood pressure was I went to visit one of our parishioner, and she has a blood pressure measure on her hand. So I put it on, and she said, "Father, you better go see a doctor quickly." So I called Doc quickly, and we went in.
And it was fine?
And it was fine because he measured properly. He said, those things is always throw you out of whack.
Are you on blood pressure medicine?
No.
Are you?
No.
Are you?
I am not.
Well, okay.
No. Are you, Tim?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Used to be on a lot more than I am today. So
well, probably all your working out and stuff like that.
It helped a little bit, but it's funny, medicines don't last forever. They don't work the same always because obviously your body changes. But
I'd agree with that.
For me, I guess it's been 2 years ago. It was after I did my Ironman and all that stuff. I was down to one pill, and my blood pressure shot up. And so we retracked. Mm-hmm. We went backwards, and none of it worked. And then I'd started to have all kinds of other tests done. Kidney, for the artery in the kidney.
There's several different tests.
Different tests. And then I had then it was sleep apnea. And got on a Cpap machine, which is horrible.
Don't say that.
Oh, they're so much fun.
I try to convince people all the time to.
If you haven't slept with a Cpap, then you haven't slept.
Yeah, we've already talked about colonoscopies.
But the Cpap worked. I mean, actually, like literally overnight, my blood pressure went way low, like normal. It since it's regulated back up, and today I'm not actually on the Cpap anymore now, and my blood pressure's fine. It's regulated.
Good.
So telemedicine not going to help with those types of things.
Doesn't help a whole bunch. No, there's nothing like the personal touch of being in the office and seeing folks and
So, obviously you're around infectious disease just as part of your job. Does the coronavirus scare you from that perspective? I mean, if you weren't restricted during this last 2.5 months, would you have been scared? Is probably the wrong word to use, but concerned for your own health and safety.
I think you have to be cautious with it. I think you have to, especially when you are in close proximity and in close quarters, and if you're swabbing people, especially, and you're getting that close, and people are coughing and sneezing. I wouldn't say I'm scared. No, right. I think taking the proper precautions. You do what you can do.
You having trouble?
People out and move on. Yeah.
You having trouble finding PPE?
We did not. Well, let me say we didn't, because one of our partners, Dr. Amanda Lane, she's kind of heavily connected in the vet. She's into horses and stuff like that. So she had a lot of friends who actually had a lot of N95 masks and gowns and stuff like that. So she kind of got us supplied early on, and those good folks did. And so we have not had an issue.
And because you weren't seeing a whole lot of patients face to face, that it lasted a lot longer as well.
Yeah, and once we kind of realized, at least right now, it hasn't been too huge in Scott County. Initially when this first started, we were swabbing a lot more folks in those first 2 or 3 weeks when this first came out. But now the things we can take a step back and kind of look and go, we only have mid 30 cases now in Scott County, and none of them have been real serious. So yeah, we aren't swabbing nearly as much, and it's been a long time. We had a few positive swabs in those first couple of weeks. We haven't had any in the office since then.
So that would mean that the isolation protocols worked then.
I think so. And again, I think Toyota's efforts in town, I think, were smart. I think in getting people out of there relatively quick, and it sounds like they're opening up
this week.
Pretty smart. Yeah,
this week.
Yeah, I think they're opening up relatively smart, and so hopefully it will continue.
Just curious, at what point in your life did you want to be a doctor? Ever since you was a kid, come late in life?
This is the generic answer. It was kind of that thing. I always liked the sciences. I always liked learning about the body and about things, living things, and so it was early on. I mean, it was, I know in grade school, that's kind of when people ask me what I wanted to be when I grow up, it was a doctor. Now, what type of doctor? No.
So in high school at Trinity, you knew when you left you was going to be a doctor. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of gunning for. Yeah.
Who'd you have for chemistry?
Sister Jane was still there, and so I think our class maybe chased her out. She retired, unfortunately. I like Sister Jane.
Yeah, she just died like a couple years ago.
She
I
did.
got that obituary.
Absolutely.
She's the reason I'm an engineer.
She's a good gal.
Yeah.
She was a great.
She encouraged. I didn't know anything about engineering.
Yep.
And it's funny how he knew it when he was in high school that he wanted to be a doctor. I had no idea till she said, "Hey, you're really good in chemistry. You should think about chemical engineering." Well, I failed chemistry when I got to college, but that didn't work out so good. But the engineer thing stuck, and that's what it takes sometimes,
Oh, she was very optimistic. I think she was the last sister to teach at Trinity.
She was. Yeah,
I think so.
She was. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Interesting stories, man. Sister Jane.
Oh yeah.
Did you take physics there too? Who'd you have for physics?
Mr. Hubler. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
what about biology?
Biology was Garber.
Yeah, he was still there.
Doug Garber. Yeah.
Yeah, with the pigeons.
Absolutely.
The pigeons
the
were still
homing
there.
pigeons in the back of his classroom.
Do y'all feel left out over there?
Father, I knew we shouldn't have got two Trinity boys together.
I was just back at Trinity over the Christmas break, right at the end of the year, and I got a tour. First time I had been back, actually, since I graduated.
It's been a while since I've been back. The place has expanded.
It's so different. The pigeon coop is gone.
It didn't go with the new modern motif of it, probably.
But the science labs and everything there now are just it's an incredible campus.
It's a good transformation.
Yeah, and when we were there, I won't say it was a dump, but it was aged, it was old, it was dilapidated. And you go walk on there now, and it rivals any small college campus.
It rivals our St. X brothers across town now.
We won't talk about St. X too much because we're trying to get a St. X alumni on the show eventually. Dan Elliott, I think, is Dan's a St. X.
I did not know Dan went to
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Well, his pedestal just got cut down in half or something like that. It's like boom.
Dan, if you're listening, you just got shorter.
I'm joking, Dan. I'm joking.
But he gets to come back. He gets to come on the show down the road, so he can say whatever he wants to say about Trinity.
And I'm sure he will.
Of course, we can edit him. what he says.
Especially when you have the ultimate power there,
Exactly.
Tim.
You know how you can always make a Trinity boy mad, right? You recruit.
Everybody recruits. Not that that's an excuse.
Y'all just are better.
We're good.
You pay better.
we have more boys. The high school is entirely boys. I
Yeah.
think that's part of it. So
Yeah, and, I like to think that success breeds success too. I mean, one of the reasons the St. X was kind of ahead of us when we were in school there was because they were older than the school was older than Trinity.
Yep.
Trinity was known as the poor school for
Sure.
the first 20 years or whatever. And then finally Trinity started to get some alumni that were successful and they started donating back, and that changes the perspective
Exactly.
on things. So
exactly.
where'd you go to high school?
Western. Off of Dixie Highway, Rockford Lane.
There was the Catholic school out there. Was Bishop David out that way?
Bishop David was out there, which is now Holy Cross.
Yeah. So
You had Angela Marisi, which was an all-girls. Bishop David was an all-boys, and they've merged into Holy Cross.
Holy Cross. Yeah. So funny, all three of us from Louisville. You should feel the Louisville connection.
You could be an honorary
Louisvillian.
father.
When I moved to town, I couldn't believe, one county, one high school. That to me, that was just unfathomable growing up. Because where I went to school on Western Highway and Dixie Highway, you had a 6-mile stretch, and I believe 6 miles. I believe there were 7 high schools in 6 miles on Dixie Highway, or just right off of Dixie Highway.
Growing up in Louisville, I thought every place was Catholic.
Practically,
It was unreal how many, and looking back and after moving out of Louisville, how many Catholic schools and parishes there were. Just in my area, Mother Good Counsel, St. Albert, St. Margaret Mary, Our Lady of Lourdes. All these places right next to each other, basically.
I think that was our biggest shock moving up here.
Oh.
We moved here in 1999, and we moved to Scott. I was working in Paris, but there's nobody really lives in Bourbon County, do they?
I think they do, Tim.
But there's St. Mary's is there, obviously, but it's smaller than us. But Kelly wanted to be close to her family, so we lived out in Victoria Estates, which was exit 65, I think, off the interstate. So we could be back home in less than an hour. So that's didn't really think when we were looking for houses. We didn't really think about looking for churches, right? We just assumed, just like you said,
It'd be down the block.
both of us born and raised in Louisville, and when we were looking for that house, we saw St. Francis out there. We said, hey, well, look, there's a Catholic church right there.
Just like home. Okay.
It wasn't. So it's probably one of the biggest changes. Obviously you never practiced medicine in Louisville.
Did not.
So I guess Georgetown's the largest town you've practiced in.
It is, and going into residency, I thought I wanted to practice in definitely more underserved area, and that was part of going to Liberty initially. And in fact, I was part of the National Health Service Corps, which is a federal program that would pay back some of your medical school loans for a certain commitment in what they deemed underserved areas. So, and that was part of that.
So did you match into that program when
You do. The match
school?
is funny. We were just talking with the kids the other night about this matching process and how that goes. Yes, it's a.
Tell us a little bit about that, because
I
guess I know a little bit about, because I've got one of the guys in our office. He has 2 kids that are doctors, and that match process.
Yeah.
how
It's a
it works.
fascinating process. So during your senior year of med school, you go around and you interview at these residency programs wherever you're interested in. So you travel around the country, and in the end, you end up ranking like the best from I forget the exact, 1 to 12 or something like that, which ones you'd prefer to go to. And all those programs at the same time are ranking everybody they interviewed 1 to 50 or 1 to 60 of who they want in their program. And then one day across the country, I think it's usually mid-March, all of these schools, like we all gathered at some bar and grill type place in downtown Chicago. They give you an envelope. You open it up, and some people are happy, and some people are crying, and some people didn't match at all, which is always interesting. And the fact that then they have about 24, 48 hours, I believe, to basically scramble.
Free agency?
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times, so if they were looking for a surgery program and they didn't match, they kind of have to look outside of surgery and decide life-changing in the next 24, 48 hours that, no, I'm going to go into internal medicine, right? And they call these places and try to find a place in. But it's an interesting, that day is very, very interesting. And it's an interesting process.
You've kind of got to, you've got to be realistic about your grades and your choices as well, right? You don't want to shoot for...
Not everybody's going to get their first choice, first one or two or three choices.
Harvard.
Yeah.
Or
Harvard Family Medicine. No, I don't know if they had Harvard Family Medicine.
NYU or something, something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's Harvard.
It's funny because one of the young ladies on our triathlon team was going to med school at UK, and she married a guy that they were in med school together.
Yeah.
And one of them matched. I think one of them didn't match, but they ended up in Hawaii.
Tropical paradise. Well, yeah, it could take away from your studying and stuff like that a little bit.
Well, and for her, she's not Catholic. She is Christian though, and she said, God's got a plan, and sometimes you don't know what it is, right?
Absolutely. The ultimate test of that is that match for a lot of folks. There's no doubt. So
what choice was your med school? And
it was my first. It really was my first choice.
There you go.
So, yeah.
God at work.
Is residency as hard as you see on TV? It just an astronomical amount of hours, 8 hours a week, no sleep. Is it?
It was when I was there, literally the year after I left. And I think...
And very little pay.
And very little pay. And I think rightfully so, the year after we left, the governing board of all this changed the regulations in regards to how many hours and stuff. It was not uncommon when I was in residency that I'd wake up on a Monday morning, whatever day it is. You'd get in there by 5:30, start rounding on folks for the day. Then you may be set up for a rotation with a neurologist. You go do that, and then you come back in the afternoon and you do a clinic for the afternoons, just seeing folks. And then you start calling the hospital at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So you go to the hospital and get checkout from the folks who are on during the day. And you'd be up all night. And it would be very rarely did you get sleep. I mean, depending on how busy it was, but it was very busy there at this tertiary hospital there. And so you'd be up all night, and then you'd be expected to go to clinic the next morning and see patients. And then you'd kind of round early part of the afternoon. They finally let you go about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And obviously the concern with that are the mistakes and stuff like that can come about with fatigue. So that all changed. There's a lot of regulations on that now.
So the shows where they've got the resident trying to find an empty bed somewhere to get 15 minutes.
Get 15 minutes. That was relatively accurate in the old days if you had time. So those were the days too. They didn't have really cell phones per se. So I was telling my kids just the other night, when you're on call, I'd have about 4 or 5 pagers on my sagging scrubs.
Did you have to explain what a pager was?
I think they knew, but just the number came across it. So it's interesting times. Yeah, but that has changed, and for the better, I think. And so, yeah, they're not allowed to, if you're working overnight, you go home right afterwards that next morning and stuff. And so,
yeah, being on call, that's people don't understand sometimes what that partakes. I'll never forget. My wife works for anesthesiologist.
Absolutely, yep.
At the hospital, and I'll never forget when she first started there. We went out. Doctors took us out to a big fancy dinner, I think Christmas dinner. suit and tie, and it just seemed like we all got there, and the minute we sat down, somebody beeped.
Oh yeah.
And he looked at y'all got to go to the hospital. Boom, up, left, never saw him again.
No doubt.
Whole night, had the night planned, beautiful evening, gone,
Yeah, I mean, another big reason for us moving up here was the call schedule down there in Liberty in the Danville area was probably every other night, and it was between 3 hospitals, Ephraim McDowell in Danville, Fort Logan and Stanford, and the small Liberty Hospital. And so it was endless. I tell my wife, my sleep quality nowadays is pretty poor. I wake up all the time. I go back to sleep, but I wake up I think it's from all these phone calls that just wrecked my sleep a long time ago. But
Wow.
Yeah.
There's Dennis's wife was a doctor down in, I think she was at Ephraim.
Yeah, where are they from?
They're from Danville.
Oh.
Yeah. Her name's Rebecca Chatham. I don't know if you know her or not, but
no.
I think she left. She was in family practice, and then she works for hospice.
Oh, cool.
That's
So-
Deacon Dennis, who was in our class with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, Ephraim's the kind of the big hospital in that area down there. So yeah.
So you spent some time down in Danville.
I sure did.
You know it like the back of your hands, don't you, Father?
So that's where you all first met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He was down there at St. Paul.
St. Peter and Paul.
Peter and Paul.
What was the story? How do you remember meeting him?
How can you not remember Dr. Reinhart?
No,
His
is
whole
that-
family. Actually, Colleen, a few times we exercised together
That's right.
at the gym, and she beat the crap out of me.
You probably deserved it.
And
No,
he's been
she-
bitter ever
And
since.
it's been ever since. So I'm on a different kind of exercise to push her out of her comfort zone.
No, we probably met because the kids went to CCD up there.
We got
Yeah,
CCD.
St. Peter and Paul. So that's probably where we initially first met.
So living your faith at work. That's got to be challenging sometimes.
It is challenging sometimes. It was challenging from the very beginning in residency and med school. My residency out in Colorado was a good mix of I'm going to use terms which I don't like, liberal versus
Political
conservative
terms,
doctors. And in fact, my mentor, who I liked very much, was very much on the liberal end of things. And so in a program in which you have options of training for things like tubal ligations and vasectomies and stuff like that, you had to make a decision early on. I wasn't going to do that. And so that came into play several times, which you just had to stick to your guns. And
God bless you, by the way. For that.
no, it's a. But by the end, initially, I think it took a lot of them, some of the attendings by surprise. But again, there was a big spectrum of them. It depended on who it was. But
that's rare in today's world.
I think it would be, and I kind of tell my Michaela, my daughter, who's thinking about going into medicine and stuff like that. Yeah, you have to be a little careful in regards of what you go into. I think in regards to, and as far as maintaining your Catholic faith and sticking to the principles and stuff you believe in. So
now, before we jump ahead too far with your faith, I mean, was you always into your faith from as long as you can remember? Did you have a lull period like with me? I mean, with me, from the time I was 12 years old to 34 years old, I was a cradle Catholic, but I never set foot in a church. And then I had a conversions experience, and now I'm sitting here as a deacon. But was you solid all the way through? Or did you have a lull period there?
I like to say I think I was relatively solid all the way through. And I come from a family. I'm in the middle of five. My mom and dad, who still live in Louisville. My mom is a very, very, very devout Catholic, and almost to a point that in growing up. Sometimes I think with my older brothers and stuff like that, I think it almost kind of turned them away a little bit from the Catholic faith and a little bit how kind of strict and stuff she was on things. I think it depends on your personality. For me, I like that, and it stuck with me. But I look at my older brothers and stuff like that, it didn't stick quite as much with them. So I like to think, to answer your question, I like to think it was pretty solid all the way through, and I think that was real helpful in getting to points when you get into medical school and especially residency, as far as making those type of being grounded enough and sure enough and, hey, I believe this, I'm not going to do this type thing. I think it was very helpful kind of coming in like that. I think if I would have been a little less sure and confident of that, and I think my Catholic education, I think a lot of that kind of going through was a big reinforcement of it outside the home too. But I think going into the residency and stuff, I think that really helped in kind of making appropriate decisions for me.
You know, doctors today, I'm not a doctor, so I don't think of it from that perspective, right?
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
I think of my job, and I think of, how do I live my faith at my job? how I treat people, interact
Well,
with
that's a
people.
big part of a doctor
Right.
too. There's
You're
no
right,
doubt.
but
It's-
there's a whole nother level to
yeah.
it that
Yeah.
that I think most people that don't encounter those types of positions would never think of that. I mean, your wife obviously she encountered that as well, right?
Absolutely.
Sure. I mean, I don't
She
think of-
doesn't have anything to do with any surgeries for tubal ligations or anything.
absolutely
They allow her to
step
No,
away.
step
Yes.
away.
Yes, and that's what
and
happened.
you
to
don't
us.
see that very often that her employers would allow that,
You would hope they would,
Yeah.
and that's what that's what I did in residency, and that's what and by the end, even my more liberal mentors were very respectful of that and understandable of that. So
And I don't know if anybody out there do you know Dr. Steve Roberts?
I know Doctor. I don't know him personally.
Father Dr. Steve Roberts.
Yeah, I thought it would always be very interesting to talk to him more because obviously he was an
Yeah, he's got
OBGYN, and
yeah.
I'm sure he has a lot of stories in this regard.
Fantastic story, but he encountered some problems too when he converted to the Catholic
Oh, I'm
faith
sure.
too.
Oh, absolutely.
He's on my list.
Oh, is he?
I haven't
He'd be a
asked
good
him
one, I
yet, but
think.
he's on my
He'd be a
list.
good one. Yeah.
But I mean, with him, a real quick funny story. I remember sitting in the pew with an individual. We got Father Steve at our parish for 1 year, I believe, to help out Father Lynn.
Yep.
And they looked up and they were like, "He delivered my children."
That would be a little odd.
Wow.
Isn't that- yes.
When did that happen?
It didn't happen overnight. So you backed up on the faith story. So you're just talking about living your faith at work. I mean, is it hard to do that now, or do you think that you've kind of gotten into a position where your staff knows who you are? I mean, because you're in private practice,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So everybody kind of knows the boundary. So is it still every once in a while rear its ugly head, or is it things are what they are?
Not really. It doesn't. No. At this point, it really doesn't. I think it comes. I think it just comes more into play about living your faith and stuff like that, and as far as how you're treating patients and what you're doing for them and how you're listening to them, and I think it comes more into play in that. Yeah, it doesn't come. There's not too much in regard to, I never did any of those things before.
Right.
And that's why I said early on, it's good to kind of, I think, set those boundaries. And anything in life, I think it's relatively good to kind of know what those are. So
I mean, we mentioned, your practices from birth to death.
yeah.
I mean, you become part of people's family, or that's what they feel like. Dr. Reinhart is part of my family.
And that was a huge reason of going into family practice, Dallas, is that continuity, that being able to be a part of people's lives in these special moments, which I never take for granted. Some of them are very difficult, death of loved ones, but no, I see that as part of the calling and why I kind of came into this, is to hopefully in some way help folks through that with what I do. So.
You mentioned Michaela thinking about being a doctor.
She is.
Would you recommend to your kids to be a doctor? I mean, because it's funny because my family doctor, you probably know Ben Lyons.
Oh, yes.
My family doctor.
I just ran into him for the first time the other day. He was looking good.
Yeah,
Good to see him.
And no nasty emails. She goes to Duke. Okay,
She does go to Duke.
Okay,
but I was talking to him about his son who went to school with my son, and he wanted to be an engineer, and Ben was happy about that, I think, because he didn't want him to be a doctor. Our attorney in our office, his son was going to school, and he said, "Don't be an attorney, go be a doctor." And so it's usually you recommend to something different, but it sounds like you're okay with her pursuing that.
I very much enjoy being a doctor. The discouraging part is the business aspect of it and the dealing with insurances and their constant rejections of medications and treatments that you're trying to prescribe folks and they won't cover. That's very frustrating. Getting used to I think a lot of older doctors don't like, and I think a lot of older doctors have retired a little sooner because of all the technology, which you're very good at, Tim. But, in regards to the electronic medical records and stuff like that, I think that scared away some of the older folks. But no, I enjoy being a doctor. I wake up each morning and most days most days I'm looking forward to going to work.
Well,
Yes.
what do they say? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. So,
I've been working every day. I've been working every day of my life.
so
But sometimes we're talking about family here, and
Sure.
then that's part of what this is. Triple D is we're doing here. We're trying to stay together as parishioners while we're going through this pandemic. But a lot of times people don't realize how close we are as parishioners. And I'm giving you an example. We're talking about Michaela. You might not know this. The amount of times we pull for people in your family, like Michaela, like my wife will walk in and she talks all, Michaela came in second in this race. And a lot of times you don't see that as you and your family, that other parishioners are for you and your family and behind you and stuff. But,
and that's very sweet.
yeah.
So
Because we moved, we're out on the outskirts of town now, but we grew up we moved to Indian Acres, and we used to see Colleen and Michaela running through the
Running all
neighborhood
around.
constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And if anybody don't know that, Michaela runs cross country for Duke.
and track.
And,
Yep.
yeah. So we watched Michaela from the time she was little running through our neighborhood constantly.
That's the only reason I follow anybody from Duke on Twitter is because of that. That's got to be hard too, right? The
whole Duke thing.
the whole Duke thing. Come on, you're in
Come
Kentucky.
on.
It came for Michaela. It came down to Notre Dame or Duke, and since both of her parents went to Notre Dame, I was proud of her for picking Duke, and she picked Duke for two reasons. She'll tell you. She picked Duke. She liked to coach at Duke, first of all. Rhonda Riley has been great for her, and female coach, and she's very nice and enthusiastic, and has been great for Michaela. But she also, if you ask her now, because Duke is a very liberal school, and she'll talk to you about she wanted to go there and challenge her faith. She wanted to go there, and it's a constant battle in a lot of segments of in classes and stuff like that.
But they have a great Newman Center, though.
They have a great. Well, they have the Duke Catholic Center down there, which she's heavily involved in.
Huge.
Oh yeah, Father Mike and Father Brad down there, two Franciscans.
Did it cause you as much problem like y'all went to Notre Dame and she didn't pick Notre Dame as it did with Peyton Manning choosing Tennessee over Ole Miss?
Absolutely not. I'm glad she picked Duke because I never wanted the kids to feel like I want the kids to set their own course and to do their own.
Yeah.
They kind of they make their own script in life, and so I'm glad she went to Duke. So the boys behind her can feel like I think do what I want to do.
Yeah, and this is all just kiddingly. I mean, we're family. We're glad she's at Duke too.
Absolutely.
Well, Brian is at Catholic U.
He's at Catholic University, and he loves it, except for the fact that his freshman year was cut short, like everybody's. No, Brian's getting real involved in the student ministry there. He was the only sophomore elected as a student minister, which is kind of like a glorified rector as far as in the Catholics, as far as spiritual kind of guiding folks and other kids and stuff like that. So he's excited about that for next year, and hopefully get a chance to do
There's
that.
a next year.
Hopefully. Notre Dame came out. We were talking about this before you came. Notre Dame, Father Jenkins came out this morning and saying that Notre Dame plans on having classes, and hopefully that will be a nidus for these other schools at least to try. Right. I hope.
Well, at the end of the day, it's about playing football.
And I think that's about money.
It is.
It's about,
Tim. Yeah. I mean.
So would you consider Notre Dame a liberal college?
It would consider itself a liberal college, but if you compare, I think, mine and my wife's experience there in regards to, I think if you're talking overall thought processes and classes and kind of what's discussed and from what angle is discussed, I think it would be much more less liberal than a place like Duke, from what I hear. Yeah,
but
obviously,
it's been a while since you've been there, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been a long time now. Yeah, so
things change.
Yes, no doubt.
Well, Notre Dame has always tried to maintain 80% student body is Catholic.
Oh yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
That is one of the ethos.
Yes.
They are truly not really conservative or liberal per se, but it's much more on what the higher education institution ought to be. Theology need to be discussed, challenged, and stimulate. It's not about apologetic. It's about open your mind to the horizon.
Yeah, I think Catholic University does a good job at that.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So, yeah,
that's college, right?
It is. It's the experience.
in a nutshell.
Well, it's getting out there and growing, knowing yourself and finding out who you are.
So what kind of questions you got for us, Doc? This is the point in the show where you get to ask us questions.
Is that really the case? You just made that up.
Well, let me ask you one more question. How old are you again? How old are you?
45.
45.
Even though
young guy.
most of my patients, Dallas,
Don't know that?
it's a little, no, most of them guess me in my upper 50s if I ask them how old I am.
Okay, let me ask you
They
one.
wouldn't do that to Father Lynn because he still has dark hair.
Have you ever thought about the diaconate?
Bam.
How about not yet?
Bam.
That would be my answer.
Not crossed your mind?
Crossed my mind, yes. Crossed my mind. Serious thought about it? I would say no. But would I be opposed to it? No. Especially after watching you and Tim.
And Mark is only third grade.
Well, if it,
Mark's only third grade.
if it wasn't for Tim, I wouldn't have made it because I copied off of him for 5 years.
Here we go.
Copied off of him.
No, just joking.
Tim, cover your paper.
Here we go.
No, has it crossed my mind? Yes. But I guess I've always been the sort, and it kind of comes up with Knights of Columbus. I've been asked many times to join the Knights, and I have not. Just because...
Boy, that sounds familiar.
No. And it's not because...
Not Knights. Knights.
It's not because I don't think the Knights are a great... And I always tell whoever asks me, I will likely join down the road. But if I can't give a decent percent of myself to that at this time in my life, I just don't join. I was never one of those people in school who joined a club just to
So you
put
belong
on
to
the
a
resume.
club?
Yeah. So.
Well, you know, the Knights. The Knights is obviously a lot different from the diaconate.
Oh sure. Sure.
The Knights. What's the best way to say it? We'll take what you can give, literally.
And then people have told me that. I understand that. It's just kind of, I guess, it's part of my personality in regards to if I can't make the meetings and contribute or anything, it just doesn't seem.
Well,
like
I'm glad you say that to a certain extent. But we have some guys. Let's see, I've been here since '99, so that's 20 years. There's some guys that are on our rolls who I have never seen at a meeting, and probably who I wouldn't even recognize if they walked through the door. I wouldn't even know them as a parishioner.
Are they still alive?
They are still alive because they're paying dues.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good.
So it does
money
happen.
trail. The money trail.
But
Okay,
it's a good organization. You know, the diaconate, I think, has to come to you in your own time.
Oh, I think so.
For us, we had somebody that was prodding us all the time, Deacon John, obviously. Timing is everything.
And I fought it. I literally fought it for years. You know, I felt the calling. I said no, and then and that's another story. Maybe
I was going to say
some miraculous things happened that I would consider miraculous, and I finally
said, okay, the signs have been put in line. Okay,
we'll get to that when we do your interview because you're on the list too for an interview. Interview Deacon Dallas. So. But
save your stuff. Save your stuff.
But we have those. There is a lot of those stories in the diaconate where evil raises its head to try to talk you out of it, to try to steer you out of it. And it's probably not unlike that for a lot of people's vocations or their occupations or whatever that where you're called. I mean, obviously, being a doctor is not just a job; it's a vocation.
It is.
It's a calling.
I totally agree with that. Yep.
So. You got to wait for God to call you on the diaconate. Even the Knights of Columbus, to a certain extent, is a vocation at the church.
Sure.
Everybody's welcome, right, Father?
Mm-hmm. Always welcome.
Always welcome. All right. Well, we thank you for coming and talking to us tonight.
It's been fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
This is as quiet as Father's been in the course of.
Well, we know each other very well, but our two deacons have not really know Dr. Reinhart.
And you're a patient too, right? Doctor patient privilege here.
That's confidentiality.
Can't talk about
that.
If we told you, we'd have to kill you, Tim, and that would destroy the show.
How does he still have a full head of hair? That's what I want to know. Is there a medical condition there? And why are they not gray?
That's the fascinating thing.
What kind of drugs is he doing?
They would put him up by 62, like all my patients do to me.
Oh, that's so good.
I had one patient guess me as 80.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
She was a little old lady. I told her to come back next time and think about that a little bit. So my kids have gotten kick out of these stories of people guessing my age.
But I can honestly say this, Dr. Reinhart, you're well liked, and I can say I have never heard one person say a negative thing about you. Everybody I talk to loves you to death.
Have you talked to the right people?
But I haven't talked to your family or Colleen or anybody like that.
That's right. We all, you guys bring, of course there's, you hope you're not a whole lot different between your private life and the personal life, but no doubt your people closest to you,
They
a lot
know
of
you the
times
best.
get this, oh yeah.
They know
A
you the
lot of
best.
times, if Colleen was here, she could tell you about my passive aggressive times in life,
But I can
stuff like
tell you,
that.
if there's
Yes.
ever a chance down the way that you will start preaching at Mass like we just talked about, you might get some negative things said about you.
I, for one, really, and I don't say that because I'm sitting next to you guys. You guys do a great job, all three of you, as far as sermons are concerned.
Thank you very
and
much.
So, and they're all you guys all have your unique style and unique, which is fascinating, and I think hammers it home a different way. So we really, the whole family,
And that's
really
what the
enjoys it.
Spirit does. He uses.
That's right.
He
What you
uses
have.
what you can, and what you have.
What you have, and go with it.
And one of us is up this weekend.
Who's that?
That's
You?
you. It's your turn. Outdoor Mass.
It was 2-on-1 there, Father. I think it's you.
So, see, this will air Friday night, so that'll be less than 48 hours before the outdoor Mass. So
Man, they're calling for rain.
Keep praying for no rain. We need that. So
I'm going to be the optimist. No rain.
there you go. There you go. So, folks, we appreciate everybody tuning in. This was a great interview. Went the perfect amount of time. So we're going to skip some of the other stuff that we typically do, and we're just going to go straight into the close, believe it or not. So next week, Mr. Bill Wren. I'm saying that right, Father?
Bill Wren.
Yeah. I picked this up off his website. A jazz pianist, a singer, a songwriter who writes, records, and performs music. Maybe he's going to perform here.
It could be.
Could be. His music is inspired by a plethora of amazing musicians, 30 years of ministry, and an insatiable curiosity to discover and share life. He considers his music a ministry that is meant to spread hope and encourage each other. So sounds like a definite music and faith.
He have a great conversion story and how he became back to Catholic Church.
So
It's amazing. He's with
Very
us
nice.
in our parish right now. Very strong, yes.
So we got that next week. I don't think we have anything lined up in the next week, but you can share your news if you want to share it. Just a little
I just
tidbit.
got confirmation from Mr. Gus Lloyd, who is on the Catholic channel on satellite radio, channel 129. His daily show is every day. I believe it starts at 7:30, but I think they might broadcast the Mass from Cardinal Dolan in New York at that time, and he picks up at 8 o'clock, and it's on for 3 hours. But he's on every morning. I listen to him every day, but I just got an email that he would be glad to be on our show.
There you go. So Rocco last week, I actually talked to Rocco tonight, wanted to thank us for having him on, and has agreed to come back as well. So I'm enjoying it. We're getting some great people.
You guys are kicking.
It's fun stuff.
You got to start small and work
That's
up,
right.
and maybe one day.
Not that Dr. Reinhart is small.
I may have been in the valley there, but I'll
Heck
take
no.
it. I'll take
Heck
it.
no. Heck
And
no.
we
Heck
might
no.
eventually we might have like the two biggest ones we know in the world is Coach Calipari and the Pope. So they're right there at equal. Maybe I'm not sure.
Can I be a part of that show too?
Yeah. Well,
Which one?
The Pope, preferably.
as always, make sure you hit the like button if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe if you're on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast site. Subscribe. But most important, tell your friends, family.
Blessing,
anybody-
blessing,
I'm
Deacon Tim.
getting to that.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
getting
I
to
thought you was going to skip over it.
It is my turn.
It is your turn.
So anyway, comments are not only necessary but encouraged. So you didn't get to leave comments live on this, but if you left them in the comments, we'll be kind of moderating some of those comments on Friday evening, maybe a little bit after it airs. But put your comments in. If you have questions for Dr. Reinhart, give them to us. We'll get them to him. Maybe he'll be on Facebook, and he'll answer your own questions as you ask him.
He did sign on Facebook.
The only reason I'm on Facebook now, Tim, is because I had to watch Mass.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
so
This is a ministry coming out of that. So Facebook owes us money. So the Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to talk with Dr. Reinhart. We appreciate all the things that doctors do, but especially Todd in his ministry. We ask you to continue to bless him in his work and keep him and his family, especially as his kids are hopefully going back to college, keep them safe. And Lord, please don't let it rain on Sunday. We ask this through your Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
And may Almighty God bless you all, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
Go in the peace of Christ.
Thanks be
Thanks
to
be to
God.
And until next week, I'm Deacon Tim.
I'm Deacon Dallas.
I'm Father Lynn.
Bye, everybody.
Bye now.
Did you ever stop and think, why spend too much time just getting ready? Let me be honest, I don't know a single thing that I haven't done to make you notice me. Let me be real here. When I see you, my heart starts racing, but I don't know if I like this